A question I've been curious about, pondering, mulling over now for a couple weeks, is how will the committee handle Syracuse's fate? While the Orange are comfortably in my field of 68 at the moment, how will their seeding be affected by Jim Boeheim's 9-game suspension? This is a little bit different than an injury, because when a star player gets hurt on a team, sometimes the committee will kind of look past that injury if that team struggles during that time, as long as that team plays well when the star is back in the lineup. Well, in this situation, you had an institution and a head coach do something wrong. Therefore, they were punished for their discretions. So, while those losses were piling up during that 9-game suspension, why shouldn't they count on the resume? They got punished for a reason. So, so what? You're not going to count that because he wasn't there? Well, then why is he out in the first place? Why not just keep him there? I don't know. That's something I don't understand. The Orange are obviously a lot better with Boeheim than without him. They went 4-5 during Boeheim's 9-game suspension, 0-3 in the ACC. But when he's strolling the sidelines, the Orange are 14-5 and 8-4 in the ACC. So clearly a lot better with him there. All of their sub-50 RPI losses occurred when Boeheim was out. Georgetown, Clemson, and 216th ranked St. John's. Syracuse Post-Standard writer Mike Waters wrote an article about this subject back in early January, spoke to Joe Castiglione himself, the chairman of the selection committee, and here's a quote from the article. In Syracuse's case, our committee has had the opportunity to see the team early in the year, and we've seen them for these last several games without Coach Boeheim. Now we will have the chance to see how the team performs with the return of its head coach, and by the end of the season, we'll have an idea of what sort of impact the suspension possibly had. Obviously, the suspension had a notable impact because they went 4-5, and then they brought him back, and the team's been doing great with him back on the sidelines. They did lose on Saturday to Pittsburgh at home, but like I said, 14-5 with him on the sideline. That is just a lot better, obviously, than 4-5, and all three of those sub-50 losses came with him not, on the sideline. So there you go. So the committee is pretty much going to overlook his suspension, and it'll be interesting to see where they get seeded. I right now have them as an 8 seed. So, we'll see what the committee does. Now, it'll be interesting to see if Syracuse all of a sudden gets into a tailspin, and if they struggle a little bit, and say, they're a fringe bubble team, then how much, weight does that 9-game suspension hold? We'll see. Now, this brings me to two teams who have dealt with injuries / eligibility issues, but have been unable to take advantage when those players returned. Wichita State and LSU. Shockers star point guard Fred VanVleet missed the entire Advocare Invitational in November due to a hamstring injury, and the Shockers went and they lost all three of those games in Orlando, USC, Alabama, Iowa. Now, the Shockers, obviously, being from a mid-major conference, this is, kind of where they have to go and pile up wins to enhance that resume, because they're not going to get the opportunity to do so in conference play. Obviously, in the Missouri Valley Conference, you're only going to have a handful of teams, if that are in the top 100 of the RPI. And I believe that none of them are in the top 50 besides Wichita. Actually, I don't even know if Wichita State's in the top 50 right now. I think they are, though. You had Fred VanVleet out, and, they couldn't overcome it. The only big win that they have on their resume with Fred VanVleet was the win against Utah. And besides that, the big games were in that tournament. And obviously they picked up a bunch of L's because, Fred VanVleet is one of the best point guards in the country, and he wasn't there. And the committee may take into account this injury because the Shockers have, kind of gone into a little bit of a spin. They had two losses recently, Illinois State and Northern Iowa, both teams outside the top 100 of the RPI. So, yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, if Wichita State doesn't win the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament, don't be shocked if Ron Baker and Van Fleet get left out of the big dance. The pun was intended there. It was a little corny, but yeah, okay. The Shockers, we'll see, man. Those losses against the top 100, sub-top 100, they're killers. They're only 1-5 against the top 50 of the RPI, so we'll see again. LSU was without Craig Vick the first 8 games because of eligibility issues following his transfer from Arizona last year. The Tigers went 4-4 to start the year, losses to Marquette, NC State, Charleston, Houston. 3 of those teams are outside the top 100 of the RPI. Houston's in the 90s. But the Tigers, however, well, they've shown that they can lose with Victor in the lineup as well. I mean, they were dealt a major blow on Saturday. Devastating loss in Knoxville against Tennessee. That's another team that's not in the top 100. So, as of today, I mean, Ben Simmons is not going to make the NCAA tournament. And LSU is really not that close right now. So, they may have to win the SEC tournament to get in. So, that's something that would be very, very unfortunate if Ben Simmons doesn't get a chance to play in the NCAA tournament in his, only season of college play. At least it seems like. I mean, he's most likely going to be out after this year. He's going to go to the NBA draft. So that would suck. It would. In terms of bubble ramifications, big winners this weekend: St. Bonaventure, St. Mary's. The Bonnies, the good old Bonnies, picked up a huge road win at Dayton on Saturday. So now they have a pair of road wins against the top 30 of the RPI. They also beat St. Joe's and Philly earlier in the season. The Gales, meanwhile, they swept the season series against the Bulldogs of Gonzaga, first time since 1995. They're tied with the Zags atop the West Coast Conference. St. Mary's doesn't have a top 50 win, but are 5-2 against the top 100. They only have 4 losses on the year. And, because they lead the conference right now, they have an automatic bid in my bracketology. So they're in. And guess who's not in? That's Gonzaga. Gonzaga is 2-7 against the top 100 of the RPI. They're on the outside looking into my bracket. And, I'll tell you what, if they get in, if they don't win their conference tournament, that'd be a little bit of a joke. They'd be getting in on name recognition. It'd be the same kind of backing their way into the tournament, the same kind of way UCLA got in last year. The Bruins had no fucking reason to be in the tournament last year, but they got in, and then they went out and they won a game. So, actually, they won 2 games. They got to the Sweet 16. Gonzaga, obviously talented. Kyle Wiltshire, Domantas Sabonis, they could certainly win a game or 2 in the NCAA tournament. They got a great front court, but they've been inconsistent all season long. They're not a tournament team right now, in my opinion, but we'll see. Another we'll see thing. All right, that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoy the bracketology. Again, it's in the comment section. It's in the description box. Let me know what you guys think. I'm out. Later. Next one's going to be on Friday. See ya.